multiple unexplained explosions rocked the United States' key Gulf ally, the United Arab Emirates, sending shockwaves through its capital, Abu Dhabi. Just hours after Iran issued a stark warning to Gulf states, Abu Dhabi came under attack, raising serious questions about whether the threat has now turned into action. Drones targeted the Barakah nuclear power plant in Dhafra, triggering a major blaze around the site and fueling fears over the safety of critical infrastructure. On May 17, multiple reports said that massive explosions were heard in the United Arab Emirates capital, Abu Dhabi. According to initial information, no casualties were reported, and the exact cause of the explosions has not yet been determined. Al Jazeera reported that a drone attack near the Barakah nuclear power plant ignited a fire in its vicinity, raising immediate security concerns. The drones reportedly targeted the electrical generator at the Barakah nuclear power plant in the Al Dhafra region of Abu Dhabi. Despite the incident, reports stated that the plant continues to operate normally and that radiological safety levels have not been affected. The episode came just hours after a close aide to Mojtaba issued a chilling warning directed at Gulf states on May 16, linking the blast to a rapidly escalating regional climate. Mokhber said, quote, "Iran looked upon them for years as friends and brothers, but they, by pre-selling their sovereignty, even placed their soil and homes at the disposal of the enemies of Palestine and Iran." The Islamic Republic's response to the CENTCOM's rented outposts in the recent all-out war was not full-scale, but certainly, this restraint is not perpetual. Unquote. According to this report, shortly after U.S.-Israeli strikes began, Abu Dhabi pressed its neighbors to join a broader regional response, trying to turn limited retaliation into a Gulf-wide front against Tehran. Mohammed bin Zayed personally urged Saudi Arabia and Qatar to participate in a joint answer to Iranian attacks, arguing that only a united wall of states could deter further strikes. MBZ is reported to have believed that if the Gulf stood together, politically and militarily, Iran would think twice before firing on oil terminals, towers and airports again. Instead, key partners including Saudi Arabia and several other Gulf states refused to sign up to a retaliatory campaign, judging that escalation carried more risks than benefits. Some leaders are even said to have told MBZ bluntly that this was not their conflict, signaling they were unwilling to be dragged deeper into a fight they saw as primarily US-Iranian. All of this unfolded as Tehran fired nearly 3,000 drones and missiles at targets inside the UAE before the April 8 ceasefire, turning Dubai and Abu Dhabi into frontline cities overnight. Iran's barrages also struck ports, airports, towers and hotels across the wider region, underscoring why some Gulf rulers feared any additional strikes might only invite more destruction at home. Riyadh reportedly branded the UAE's push for joint strikes escalatory, choosing instead a deterrence-only posture, bolstering defenses and diplomacy while avoiding direct offensive action. That strategic split deepened already strained ties between Abu Dhabi and Riyadh, turning quiet economic competition into visible geopolitical friction in the middle of a war. In Qatar, officials briefly weighed direct retaliation after Iran hit the Ras Laffan LNG complex, but ultimately stepped back from the brink. Doha concluded its role should be de-escalation and mediation, not opening a new military front, especially with LNG exports and foreign bases sitting in Iran's line of sight. Bahrain and Kuwait broadly followed Saudi Arabia's caution, keeping to defensive postures and steering clear of any offensive operations that could widen the conflict. Oman, long a quiet backchannel to Tehran, was never expected to join strikes at all, instead continuing to play the role of discreet go-between as the fighting raged. Against this backdrop, Abu Dhabi shocked energy markets by pulling out of the Saudi-led OPEC cartel in late April, signaling just how far its rift with Riyadh had widened. Reports now suggest the UAE is even reviewing its participation in regional bodies like the GCC, raising the question of whether Trump's most enthusiastic Gulf partner is preparing to chart a far more independent course. In a historic development, Israel has revealed that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu conducted a previously undisclosed visit to the United Arab Emirates amid the ongoing Iran conflict, marking a significant diplomatic moment during heightened regional tensions. The Prime Minister's Office of Israel confirmed that Benjamin Netanyahu made this covert visit during the course of Operation Roaring Lion, while military and strategic operations were still actively unfolding. During the trip, Netanyahu reportedly held a discreet and closely guarded meeting with UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed, reflecting the sensitivity and high-level nature of the engagement. According to reports, this encounter marks the first officially acknowledged face-to-face meeting between the two leaders, highlighting a rare moment of direct diplomacy at the highest level. The Prime Minister's office stated that the discussions led to what it described as a historic breakthrough in relations between Israel and the UAE, signaling a potential shift in regional cooperation. A source familiar with the meeting indicated that the talks took place in the city of Al Ain, near the Oman border, on March 26, adding further detail to the previously undisclosed diplomatic timeline. The meeting reportedly lasted several hours and was conducted entirely in secrecy, with no public disclosure or media coverage until the details emerged much later. This development comes in the aftermath of earlier failed peace negotiations and at a time when US President Donald Trump is visiting China, adding a wider geopolitical backdrop to the event. The announcement also comes in the wake of separate reports suggesting that the heads of Israel's two primary intelligence agencies carried out visits to the United Arab Emirates during the ongoing conflict with Iran, further deepening the picture of behind-the-scenes diplomatic and security coordination during wartime conditions. According to these reports, the leaders of Israel's two main intelligence organizations are said to have independently traveled to the UAE in recent months, indicating a coordinated but carefully concealed pattern of high-level engagement despite the public sensitivity of the conflict. According to intelligence reports, Mossad Director David Barnea is believed to have visited the UAE at least twice during the war period, as reported by international media outlets including the Wall Street Journal. Further reports suggest that these meetings were held in March and April, indicating a sustained pattern of back-channel diplomacy between the two nations during a highly volatile period. Meanwhile, Shin Bet chief David Zini is also reported to have visited the UAE in recent weeks, according to the Times of Israel, underscoring ongoing security-level coordination. It is important to note that none of these meetings have been officially confirmed or publicly disclosed by either Israel or the United Arab Emirates, leaving much of the information based on reports and sources. The development gains further significance in the broader regional context, especially as the UAE has also been reported to have taken part in actions against Iran during the course of the ongoing conflict. The UAE reportedly carried out direct military strikes on Iran without publicly acknowledging them, according to a Wall Street Journal report citing people familiar with the matter. The report says the UAE became an active combatant in a war in which Iran had also made it one of its biggest targets. The Wall Street Journal published the revelation on May 11th, attributing it to sources familiar with the matter. The report also said the UAE's military is equipped with Western-made fighter jets and surveillance networks that enabled such operations. One reported target was a refinery on Iran's Lavin Island, according to the Wall Street Journal's account. That refinery strike reportedly took place in early April and sparked a large fire at the site. The damage reportedly knocked much of the refinery's capacity offline for months. Lavin Island sits in the Persian Gulf, making any strike there strategically and politically sensitive. H.A. Hellier said, and I quote, "The Emiratis made it clear early on that they didn't want this war, but it's also clear that since the first Iranian strikes on the UAE took place, Abu Dhabi's been quite transparent that they see the regional picture as having changed dramatically. Abu Dhabi hasn't confirmed what they have targeted, or even if they have targeted, but from the early days of the war it seemed only a matter of time before we saw increased kinetic involvement of different Gulf states in the war." Unquote. If confirmed, the move would mark a significant shift by the UAE toward more direct use of force in regional conflicts. The timing is also notable because the strike was said to have occurred near the period of a declared ceasefire. The Wall Street Journal reported that the attack happened around the time Trump was announcing a ceasefire in the Iran war. The revelation underlines just how fragile the ceasefire has become, as US-Iran peace efforts remain stuck in deadlock.